I saw a response to a tweet the other day, and I felt I needed to make a pretty quick video to respond to the responses of the tweet. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. And the tweet was basically, hang on one second. Let me pull it up so you can see it better. On May 11th, Nick Underhill, reporter, just basically saying the Saints are trying Taliesin Fuaga out on the left side. He's going to get the bulk of the work there to start. It's really just a kind of a declarative statement. I don't think particularly any big deal. But in the last 3 days or so, it's kind of taken a weird life of its own on. And I'm just going to read a few of the responses to you. Mostly because if you want to go to Twitter and see everything yourself, that's fine. But I mean, I want to make it a point of saying everybody's entitled to their opinion just as much as I feel like I'm entitled to mine. So, and I'm not bashing anybody because I may not feel the way they feel right now, but it's May, June, not September, October. And come September, October, they may be right, and I'm going to be right there next to them. But point being, for right now, just some general, why are we doing this again? If Fuaga plays left tackle, who'll play right tackle, can't be pinning. It would make no sense to have both of them switch sides. Saints ruining this kid's career and hadn't even started yet. Why? They need to leave him at right tackle. Why, God? Why? I don't understand. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also, in fairness, there were points kind of defending it. But I think overall, and not only as far as this tweet in Fuaga, this was just one that was like a lightning rod. I think also there was others involving Spencer Rattler and some undrafted free agents and just the passion of the Saints fan base coming out. And so I just kind of felt the need that we may have to revisit a little bit what training camp's all about. And it's really kind of five things rolled into one. It's just an introduction to the team. It allows rookies to familiarize themselves with their new team's facilities, coaching staff, the playbook, and it just makes their transition to football life easier. The coaches are going to skill assessment, kind of self-explanatory. They're going to start assessing the player's skills, and it's a situation where, that assessment has already started. Film through the draft process or the undrafted free agents that they signed, whatever scouting went into that, plus the 30-plus tryout players that were invited. So it started, but this is the first time they get to work with them and really, really start assessing their skill level. And while they're doing that, they're giving instruction and development, obviously. So coaching, and I wasn't there, full disclosure, but I can kind of glean it's from the media that we're allowed to attend Saturday's open portion that it was both hands-on sort of, I don't want to say individual instruction, but a focus on maybe an individual player in a position, as well as the overall team concepts that they're trying to put in for these rookies in the schemes itself, both on the offense and the defense. Team building is one that you want to talk about because, obviously it starts fostering that camaraderie, that team concept, because every one of these players have been on teams before, but not this one, not all together. And these are the guys that are, in some cases, just trying to make the roster, and in other cases, in Fuaga and Rattler's case, and Kool-Aid. They're going to make the roster, and they know it. But their goal isn't to make the roster. Their goal is to climb up the roster, get a starting position, and further their success and career along the NFL. So everybody's goals may be a little, well, not a little. They definitely aren't the same. But it all kind of starts with this team building because there's, God, I hate to say the old cliche, but there's no I in team. And it's also an opportunity for the tryouts, which we had talked about in our full Let's Talk Saints podcast the other night. You got guys just desperately looking for jobs, or guys that Kellen Mond, and he's mentioned a lot in some of the reviews, was able to come back and actually that same skill assessment back from the second point, he was cut, but able to come in and he still gives them a skill assessment. So the coaches know in a pinch, something doesn't work out. We've seen with our own eyes taking Kellen Mond through the same, and in this case, Spencer Rattler, the guy that replaced him, apples to apples comparison. They were doing the same thing all 3 days. So it's a baseline. The whole 3 days and the continuation into the OTAs and then the team mini camp that concludes everything in the middle of June. They now are establishing a baseline of these concepts, these 5. Now they're seeing it. There's a participation. It's no longer grading film or talking to scouts or anything like that. It's coaching staff hands-on, taking the information they had previously and now processing it. So it's as much for the coaches as it is for the players. This is the part where, as I was reading the tweets earlier, and honestly, I can't make this point enough. I'm not throwing shade at anyone. I'm not saying their opinions are invalid. I think it's a little untimely, though. I think it's a little too early. Believe me, I'm a guy that wants to go apeshit when things go wrong with the Saints. Last 2 years, last 3 years, they gave me plenty of opportunities. But at the same time, it's May, June. Like I said, it's not September, October. I think we just need to back up a little bit at this time of year about preconceived notions or dismissing the process entirely. And it's a whole new process, especially on the offensive side. And we're talking primarily about an offensive player here in Fuaga. Well, an offensive player here in Fuaga. We don't know yet if it's working or not working. Not everything is set up because we're making a drastic, if not hugely massive change on the offensive side everywhere. Everything is going to change. And we have to wrap our heads around that concept because nothing is going to look like it looked like from 2006 till when did Pete and the rest of the coaching staff get fired? That was December, January, somewhere around there of 2023, January 2024. Think about how long we've been trained to think one way, and not that the old way was wrong. I think it was outdated, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong compared to the new way. May not fix anything and may make things worse. But it's a process we all have to just kind of get through. And this is the beginning of it, and this is a part of it. And I have to go back to developing the players. But the development, it does start here, and that's kind of the purpose. And I keep talking about a baseline. It's the starting point. We know this is designed, the mini camps and the OTAs, this off-season portion, designed basically to a starting point. Everybody's at a starting point. Veterans from the team, the new guys, everything. Try to get the whole thing to fit together. And because there's so many changes, and we as fans are so used to the old way of doing things, that the new ways are coming in. So there's an adjustment period for us. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get to right now. That when training camp starts, that's when the real, and in the case, let's talk specifically about Fuaga. That's when the real test begins. And he may find himself back at right tackle. They may have already seen enough to go, no, he's not a left tackle. Or they may have seen something that said he could be a left tackle. We might want to keep pursuing this. Or something that showed him he will eventually be a left tackle, but it's going to take time, and we still have to win games in 2024. So the move, we may start working him there, but as training camp approaches, when we're seriously getting ready for the season itself, he may find himself back at right tackle. Point being, no matter which one of these scenarios happens, it's not predetermined outcome of the Saints coaching staff. They're actually using this time to develop and evaluate, which it was kind of designed to do all along, not to make any lasting proclamation of what's going to happen in the end of July, August, and training camp and preseason, and then into September, into the season. And even if it was a proclamation, it still doesn't mean anything. I talked also the last full episode of the podcast the other night, the Marquez Colston story of 2006, of being horrible in rookie minicamp and struggling and then having some issues. And I didn't realize it continued through OTAs. I just looked up the story the other day and refreshed myself. And here's the point that I'm getting to. I had totally forgotten about this name until I read it. Mike Haas, 2005 Biletnikoff winner, was 5th or 6th round draft pick, right ahead of Colston. He came in hot into rookie minicamp. He was tearing it up. Everybody was like, can't believe this guy lasted that long. He's an incredible stud. Colston was almost an afterthought. I think the only people thinking about him was the coaching staff going, oh, Jesus, this kid, what is he doing? Well, come training camp time, and like I said, I remembered the name Mike Haas. I had to jog my memory, but I've never forgotten the name of Marquez Colston, and I never will. So by the time training camp rolls around and everything is for real and Colston has gotten his stuff together, and then the real Marcus Colston comes out and takes that receiver position or on the roster, because he was like the 4th or 3rd, jumped right over Haas, who everybody had said all during mini camps and OTAs is like, oh, he's going to be a stud. And that's also the year Dante Stallworth found himself traded to Philly, and everybody else moved up the chart. Devery Henderson was technically the number 1. Terrence Copper, there's another name that you probably didn't remember until I mentioned it, was number 2. Colston was number 3 to start 2006. I didn't go back and read through at what point Colston became the 1, Henderson became the 2. And it was at some point in 2006 that you could see that change happening. But by 2007, Marcus Colston, number 1 receiver on the team, launched a career that got himself into the Saints Hall of Fame, got himself a Super Bowl ring, and he's basically a Saints legend. Nothing's written in stone right now. So this whole point is just I felt, and maybe a slight overreaction, which is probably natural because the Saints throughout its history from 1967 has done a lot of really idiotic stuff that as Saints fans, there is no such thing as an overreaction because it's so far out there that sometimes I think we get, and we've seen that starting to appear the last 2 or 3 years. So I think especially a lot of older fans like myself or younger fans who were groomed from someone who's an older fan like myself that remembers that. And that's been planted. That seed was planted at birth along with the Saints fandom. That tends to be the gut reaction. A lot of that stuff I was reading on Twitter, which is why, for the 3rd time, I do want to say I am not slamming anyone who hasn't. I get it. I understand. I'm just offering the alternative theory that maybe we should pump the brakes a little bit and just wait and see how this develops. And with the new coaching staff, a new process that they have that they're trying to install, let's see how this plays out. So far, you really can't knock a whole lot what the Saints have done as really wrong in the offseason or in the draft. So I'm still willing to give the coaching staff, the organization, even Mickey Loomis, who was on my fire everybody list, top of the last 2-3 years, going, okay, maybe they figured some stuff out. Maybe we've got some changes coming and the changes will be good. We'll have to wait and see. So tell you what, in the comments below, let's have some fun. Give me an answer to the question, should the Saints coaching staff have even given Fuaga a look at left tackle in the rookie minicamp this past weekend? There's probably I know there's definitely some legitimate arguments that probably said no, they shouldn't have done it. We'll see how it all turns out. Also, make sure you subscribe and follow so you and I can keep talking Saints. So I'm Tim. Until next time, peace out. Who dat?